All right, we are back with more NFL coverage. And in this one, we have the Week 3 recap. So to get things started with the Thursday night action between the Dolphins and the Bills. The Dolphins would do what they're pretty much accustomed to at this point as an offense to start out the game. All these RPO plays, these short pop routes, these screen actions for Davon Achane and stuff like that. Because essentially those work as runs in their minds, right? As long as you can get Achane out in space, in theory, he's going to be able to pick up a ton of yardage. And later on in the drive, as they would continue to progress after a few short gains, they would get a 15-yard catch out of Davon Achane on this drive. But then they would do something very, very interesting. Would start to deploy Ollie Gordon II more as a complementary back and a power option, which does make sense. I mean, he's got the bigger frame. He's a lot more physical than Davon Achane probably could be at this point. And again, that can also help sometimes, even though they still had issues run blocking and things like that throughout the game. But they would end off the drive fittingly with Ollie Gordon II punching in from 2 yards out for a touchdown. The real test is going to be their defense against this Dolphins receiving core, Bills receiving core, even if they're not really regarded as a top one in the league. But it didn't help that you already had Jack Jones out here getting drawn into a defensive pass interference. And then James Cook would just start getting right back on his shit too. He didn't already carve up the Jets defense last week. Well, he got back-to-back gains of 16 and 11 yards right here. But then stuff would get physical for some reason between Dalton Kincaid and the team. Don't know why that was. Like, you have one of their linebackers just crashing in after the play and trying to do some crazy shit. And they weren't flagged this time. But Kincaid would respond right the fuck back. Because this was a shorter route, but essentially Kincaid just breaks free in the flat. And Jack Jones, who was supposed to be guarding that area, just got completely out of position. He tried to recover, but it was way too late for him. And he also just tried to make this tackle attempt. Dalton Kincaid just ate that and kept on running into the end zone after the catch for a 20-yard touchdown to respond immediately. Now, here's where the bullshit kicks in for the Dolphins, because they would have a chance to respond, but a fumble by Tagovailoa on third down would hurt them completely, and they would be forced to punt after a 3-and-out. Meanwhile, the Bills just kept it rolling. And, man, Elijah Moore, for whatever reason, would get an end around, but the main takeaway from this drive was the way in which James Cook just continues to do his thing, man. Like, I don't know. He just attracts all these different bodies on defense, and yet they still struggle as a unit to bring him down. Like, there's just no way that that's going down. And again, the fact that he can possess that for you, it's a vital part of this Bills offense. That's why it was important to keep him in the offseason. But after those couple of runs right there, they would get some contributions from Shakir and also Coleman from 4 yards out. Easy slant route to him. A lot more physical as a wide receiver compared to most of the Dolphins' cornerback core right now. And then from 5 yards out, Josh Allen made a very smart move. You know, again, I guess a lot of people might have blown it out of proportion, but it was incredibly intelligent of him to try to play like he was running the football. So he comes up closer and closer to the line of scrimmage, attracting the defense over to him, and he just flips the ball with the flick of his wrist to Spencer Hawes Jackson Hawes for a touchdown from 5 yards out, giving the Georgia Tech rookie Another reception and rep in this season and giving them a 14-7 lead. Another wasted drive, essentially, by the Bills here. Well, by the Dolphins here. I don't know. I don't understand why they get themselves in these kinds of ruts at times. And then for 3rd and long, you're settling for the screenplay to Achane, and it literally makes no sense to me. Man. Now, the Bills would just get right back to it. And again, James Cook, as I noted on this drive, and as he's done for most of the season, he's displayed some elite ball carrier vision to the point where we're getting into Le'Veon Bell territory with how patient he can be as a runner. In this day and age, most people are definitely trying to predicate their games around being as fast as possible, getting a quick first step out of the backfield, and trying to burn a defense that way. But when you have that quality like James Cook possesses right now, where you can set up blocks with how patient you are as a runner, and also have that trust in your offensive line to go out there and make the blocks in due time, that makes for a very, very good rushing attack. And again, the Bills' offensive line is, I guess they've been graded as one of the better offensive lines when you look at PFF and stuff like that. Really, the only household name on that offensive line, really thinking about it, is Dion Dawkins. Spencer Brown has been good, but I don't think he's that much of a household name. And then they have a lot of other people who you wouldn't necessarily regard as at like the top 10 blockers at their respective positions. But they get the job done damn near every season. They've been together as a unit. And that's a testament to how they scheme it up. So after that 26-yard run, you would then have, later in the drive, Tyrell Shavers. Yeah, the wide receiver that torched the Jets last season might have managed to break into this rotation of wide receivers as a sort of, spot guy, give you a few catches here and there. I find that pretty interesting, to say the least. Now, they would be stopped. Bradley Chubb would actually break in on the next 3rd down attempt and get a sack on Josh Allen. You're thinking at that point, okay, they've got a field goal. Matt Prater obviously might not have the leg anymore, given how old he is. But, anything inside, 50 yards, he's probably set. No, he would completely miss this one in the most shocking of ways. But that's okay. They would still retain the lead, but the Dolphins would bark back, though not without some chaos. Because, they make the De'Von Achane screen so predictable to the point where this man in Thompson, right, he completely lights up De'Von Achane in the backfield. You see, Tua Tagovailoa is literally eyeing the route, so it's already making it obvious to him that that's where he's going with the football. And instead of keeping it pretty much to where De'Von Achane stays on the ground and holds it in, this man has the gall to lob the pass up in the air to De'Von Achane with as short and slim as he is. And he gets his shit rocked in the backfield. That's not the type of hit he should be taking in that situation. By you taking all that time to lob it up, you remove all the space in an instant that he would have had to work with. And you put him in danger. That is a fucking hospital ball. But even with those kinds of decisions being made, they would still manage to get a few bailouts here. Tyrique Hill would break open multiple times with a beautiful completion on this third down for 19 yards to start out. And then after they stall out for some more time, Tyrique would get another 13-yard reception on another third down to extend their drive as the time was winding down in the half. Eventually, Tyreek Hill would, once again after a few runs, get them inside Buffalo's 3-yard line before Jalen Waddle would get in on a slant route for a 3-yard touchdown. All of a sudden, this is a tie ball game, and that would be the score at the end of the half. But man, the Bills would get a great response to start out the third quarter. Truly great. I mean, Khalil Shakir would manage to get a 15-yard catch on this drive. And although they had some setbacks, Deion Dawkins had a holding penalty on this play. But they would get it right back. It doesn't matter because when Josh Allen is that much of a threat in the rushing attack, it just makes life easier for you as a team. And he would manage to get near the first down on this play. But again, not without a cost. I guess Jordan Brooks, for some reason, just felt the need to take his anger out. Because he had already got cooked on a route by Todd Johnson out of the backfield. And I guess he decided to try to get a late hit on Josh Allen. Dalton Kincaid wasn't fucking having it, by the way. He got right in there and tried to press him about it. Can I really blame him? I mean, no, he didn't really get the hit, but obviously you're going to want to protect your quarterback in that situation. I understand it. And I mean, hell, like Jordan Brooks would quite literally get his comeuppance. I mean, not only would he be penalized for an unnecessary roughness, but he would also be on the receiving end of a 2-yard rushing touchdown from James Cook to give them a 21-14 lead. That's how you got to start out those second half drives all the time. But the Dolphins, at least their offense for the rest of this third quarter, just wouldn't really do much of anything. I mean, I don't know why they decided on first down, okay, you give Jalen Waddle a screen route that just doesn't even look right, and he loses yardage. And once they get behind schedule, with the way that their offense operates, it is a wrap. You can consider that drive as good as done. That's exactly what would happen here. But they nearly got bailed out by Brandon Cudrington fumbling. He would recover his own fumble, but shit. Now, at least the Dolphins' defense over the rest of this third quarter, they would hold. I mean, they forced a 3-and-out, keeping everything relatively short for Josh Allen. And that was the thing, too, about this game for both teams. You know, there were a few 10-plus yard gains in near 20-yard gains, but a lot of these passes, the depth of them, were relatively short, to say the least. You didn't see a lot of deep shots, and the ones that were attempted weren't really all that accurate. So it forced them to improvise and come up with a completely different game plan. That is kind of displayed on this drive right here. I mean, you had the completion to Tyrell Shavers from 7 yards out, and then you just had incomplete short pass after incomplete short pass after incomplete short pass. Testament to the Dolphins' defense. But for the Bills' offense, it would be forced to punt yet again, giving the Dolphins a chance to finally wake up and respond. They would do just that. Now, it did not help initially that their rookie in Savaiinea managed to get a penalty on a play that would have been really, really nice. But they would make the shit happen anyways. On a 3rd and long on the drive, they tried to pull off the same hook and ladder style play that the Seahawks converted last season in the Falcons game and the Lions game, I believe. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute, man. You're trying to copy them. They would get close, but they didn't pick up the first down, still on 4th down. Jalen Waddle would haul in a hell of a catch from Tua Tagovailoa. Was thrown with perfect anticipation and accurately. And that, with an offense like this, is going to be heavily important. Now, Davon Achane would manage to get a couple good rushing lanes and get about 16 yards on the next couple carries before Tyrique Hill would finally get in the end zone with a touchdown of his own. I initially thought, okay, he ran like a sort of corner route. No, he just simply changed direction on his route, fooled the defense completely, managed to break open for Tagovailoa to get the easy target in. That tied up the game. It was looking promising for the Dolphins defense on this next possession. Aside from an early James Cook tote, they would manage to initially stop this Bills offense as Jack Jones managed to deflect a really good pass attempted for Elijah Moore. But on this punt, Zach Seiler, their veteran, would rough the kicker. And it extended their drive. Not only that, but it just drained the clock a little more. And that put even more pressure on the Dolphins offense at that point. Because after this RPO screen to Shakir got a 15-yard touchdown, now all of a sudden the Bills have the lead. And you've got to put together a methodical drive to not give the Bills enough time to respond. At the very least, you want to tie up this ball game and ensure that you can either get the ball back by forcing a 3 and out, or just take it to overtime at this point. It felt like that is what they were trying to do with the way that they were moving. Outside of an 11-yard gain on this 3rd and long, which again, credit to Waddle and Hill for being on the receiving end of multiple 3rd and 4th down conversions in this game. That certainly helped. But a lot of these gains were relatively short. And again, with the longer ones, another conversion by Jalen Waddle here. Okay, you're still being smart about it. You're staying in bounds. You're trying to drain as much time as possible off the clock. So they would burn time after this. And they would put together a nice pair of runs for yet another first down as they neared the Buffalo red zone. And then Tua Tagovailoa just threw something absolutely inexplicable. For whatever reason, he just threw it right in the vicinity of Terrell Bernard. And he picked it off. With that essentially ending the game. Because, on the next possession, the Bills would not only get a 30-yard catch with Elijah Moore just running free in the seam. No one home at all to guard him, by the way. But they would also get in the field goal range and kick a field goal to go up by 10 points. Leaving the Dolphins a little room to do much of anything on their own possession. And again, I don't really believe all the hype surrounding multiple people calling for Mike McDaniel's job if he lost this game. I don't believe that at all. We're here on this Wednesday and he's still a part of the team. That didn't make too much of a difference. But again, the Tagovailoa interception is just rough. Because when looking at the play, pretty much everything is covered. And I suppose that he was looking for Jalen Waddle in this situation. You could attribute that to being a really smart play from Bernard in this situation. But at the same time, if you're Tagovailoa and you recognize that nothing is open on this play, you have nothing to lose by throwing the ball away. You really don't. Even if you want to keep the clock running, the reality is that your priority is to score a touchdown. And you just cannot, under any circumstance, put the ball in harm's way. So at that point, maybe you're looking for Waddle on a soft curl, but it's a forced attempt at that point. And Bernard made you pay for it. You're certainly going to want that back. Because again, going 0-3 to start out the season is not something that any team would like to do, and yet the Dolphins, with them obviously having a Thursday night header here, would be the first team to suffer that fate, unfortunately. At the very least, with a few of the runs that Tagovailoa had in this game, at least he slid, and you still have him healthy and available to continue going throughout the whole of the season, hopefully. Because again, the scheduling of this was just weird. Like around the same time last year, we were talking about Tagovailoa dealing with yet another concussion. It's like, that could have been some really scary shit if something like that would have happened again. So ultimately, you walk away with this loss, and you desperately need to find a way to bounce back. Again, you're going to have Tagovailoa around, hopefully, to continue doing that. For the numbers here, Josh Allen completed 78.6% of his passes for 213 yards with 3 touchdown passes, while James Cook on the ground had 19 rushes for 108 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid had 5 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown, and Khalil Shakir had 4 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown of his own, while Jackson Hole has added a receiving touchdown, as I mentioned. As for the Dolphins, again, Josh Allen, a few deeper passes, I should say. But again, the depth of them was not really all that large. In the similar case, in an albeit worse way, if you look at it, for Tua Tagovailoa here. 146 yards, 64.7% completion, and 2 touchdowns with an interception on 4.3 yards per attempt. Keep in mind, too, that some of these receptions lost yardage for him. Because, again, that is just the scheme of the offense. And it's like, at that point, you just have to try to adjust because it's not working. It's just not working enough for you to win ball games, I should say. Devon Achane would have 91 total yards on 19 total touches, while Tyreek Hill would have 5 receptions for 49 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle would have 5 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown. And Ollie Gordon II would manage to have 9 rushes for 38 yards and a touchdown. Again, as a change of pace guy, like I literally said when they drafted him, if he can provide you with that power out of the backfield consistently, that could be something that they lean on. And that would help them change up their game plan a little bit, because they might desperately need it at this point. You got to try anything. Because again, you are 0-3 for a reason at this point. And yet you keep on trying to run the same redundant style of offense. So you have to shift up something. You have to be willing to make that adjustment at some point, or you're not going to sniff a win anytime soon. It's as simple as that. All right, to move into the Sunday action. I'm going to be brief with this one because this was an ass whooping of all ass whoopings. But man, the Seahawks just cruised to a 44-13 victory in this game against the Saints. I mean, yes, it is the Saints. I understand that. But all 3 phases of the fucking game were just on one in this. I mean, you literally start out with Jackson Smith and Jigba, despite being sick with an illness, gets in and manages to catch his first touchdown of the season. On the very next drive, you have Torrey Horton getting a 95-yard punt return for his second touchdown in as many weeks as an NFL player. Truly crazy stuff. Then to make matters even better for both the defense and the special teams, D'Anthony Bell, who was picked up from the Texans over the course of the offseason, gets in for a blocked punt, gives the Seahawks easy field position, where they punch it in from 3 yards out with Kenneth Walker III to go up to 21-0 in literally the first quarter with 4 minutes to spare. Now the Saints would get in with a field goal of their own, but the offense just continued to roll. Torrey Horton got another touchdown in this game via a 14-yard catch for 3 NFL touchdowns now, while Kenneth Walker III would also get a touchdown in this quarter, and Jason Myers would pick up a field goal later to make this game as bad for the Saints is a 38-3 score. From there, most of the second half was really them just trying to finish out the game. They didn't feel the need to do much as a unit at that point. Though the defense, again, with that being the case, still managed to hold strong, allowing just a touchdown in this. Have that kind of dominant win against this team when, again, the Cardinals and Cardinals and 49ers before them struggled to win a game of that kind. So again, even if they might be a trash team this season, you can't try to play down to your competition in this case. And credit to the Seahawks for not doing that, because, man, it looked great out there. Sam Darnold, just deadly accurate throughout this game. 77.8% completion for him and 218 passing yards with 2 touchdowns. You wouldn't like to see the rushing game pick up again. Maybe they didn't need to do all that much, but 2.6 yards per carry and 87 yards, even in a game against the Saints, is usually not going to cut it over the course of an entire season. So that's got to change a little bit. Jackson Smith and Jigba still out here getting his, man. 5 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. She also had Torrey Horton get 3 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown of his own, along with a 95-yard kickoff return for touchdown. Cooper Kupp had 2 receptions for 31 yards, rather. And also, shout out to Josh Jobe, 11 tackles and 9 independent ones with a pass deflection. Ty Akana got in the game as a backup strong safety and managed to get 9 tackles of his own, along with a half sack. Tyrique Woolen had 5 tackles. And Leonard Williams also added a half sack in this game, while Byron Murphy II had a sack and a TFL. As for the Saints here, Spencer Rattler had 71.8% completion on the day with 218 passing yards as well, a touchdown and an interception. Even with the Seahawks not doing the best in the rushing attack, the Saints were worse, as Alvin Kamara only had 42 rushing yards on 18 catches. Meanwhile, the Saints would find some fortune in the receiving game. I mean, yeah, Shaheed would get fed a little bit with 4 receptions for 42 yards, though it also took Chris Olave 10 catches to get 57 receiving yards. Shows you just how limited they truly were in this game. Even Brandon Cooks didn't have that great of a performance. But credit the linebackers, as both Pete Werner and Demario Davis for the Saints would manage to have 11-plus tackle ball games. So that's respect. And at the end of the day, when you really think about it, this is the ultimate revenge game for one Clint Kubiak, the new offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, who used to be with the Saints last season, of course. Hey, man. Hey. He was not the problem. He was not the problem, Saints fans. The entire team needed rebuilding. And, I mean, you got one aspect of that done with a new head coaching hire, but you've still got some pieces there that just truly hinder most anything that this team can do right now. Moving on to the Steelers and Patriots. Honestly, all right, moving on to the Steelers and the Pats, and I'm not going to lie to you. This game is probably a melt session. Let's talk about it, man. I mean, it didn't help that you immediately had Cameron Hayward tackle both Rhamondre Stevenson and Drake May in the backfield, going down as a sack on the same play. But, man, the madness would begin immediately because Rhamondre Stevenson would fumble right off the rip as Cole Holcomb would rip it out and Darius Slade Jr. would recover that one. Now, honestly, maybe you're thinking that it's not that big of a deal, you know. Fumbles happen all of the time. But at the same point, this man and Rhamondre Stevenson fumbled 7 times last season, the most in the NFL. And it wouldn't be far from the last time a running back for the Patriots fumbled in this goddamn ball game. But we'll get to that. We will get to that in time. Oh my goodness. Anyways, DK Metcalf would get a catch early from 15 yards out, a little RPO screen, and he just hauls ass a little bit for a good pickup. Jaylen Warren would also just get some nice runs in this, some tough muscle runs that you are expecting from a player of his frame. And yet, that front seven was just legitimately weak against him. It would get all the way to a 3rd and goal for the Steelers here afterwards. And they tried to get it over to Big Bonnie Darnell Washington. But Austin, their corner, was so scared of having that happen to him that he just decided to grab him immediately. But with that ensuing first down, Kenneth Gainwell would actually be the one to get it touchdown here. And they managed to do an outside run here. You know, pretty smart in that situation because they abused them with the inside run for a majority of that drive up to that point. The Patriots, after a few uneventful gains and another sack on Drake May, this time by Derek Harmon, the rookie out of Oregon, would hunt the football, giving the Steelers the ball back and a chance to go on a pretty long drive that would bleed into the second quarter, but it ended up being well worth it. They would get bailed out following a sort of fumble leading into a sack because they got this same Austin character on yet another holding penalty and would then also get additional yardage on an unnecessary roughness call. Afterwards, I guess they got the shit going. Kenneth Gainwell would get a 13-yard run here, and then after yet another penalty setting them back, it would be facing 3rd and long here, and Johnny Smith would get a nice route right over the middle. Aaron Rodgers threw the perfect tight window throw and managed to just zip it in to him for 21 yards while churning down even more clock. And eventually the quarter would end. They would pick it right back up, wasting little time in the second quarter as Aaron Rodgers would not only get this touchdown pass over to DK Metcalf with Carlton Davis III guarding him, but with that, he would also become the sole holder of 4th place all time in passing touchdowns, breaking the tie that he had coming into the game with none other than Brett Favre. As cool as that moment was, there wouldn't be much celebration about it. Drake May has truly settled into utilizing all of his dual threat ability. Obviously, when he was at North Carolina, he definitely was scrambling out here, no question about it, and he would deploy that at times. Like this 15-yard run that he got on a broken down first down play. I don't know why they continue to use Rhamondre Stevenson out of the backfield. It does beat me, but they managed to get a decent gain. And then Hunter Henry. How about Hunter Henry in this game, man? like, there were some inexplicable plays that he had, like, they were figuring out, maybe even, like, later in the game, just not catching balls and dropping them and stuff like that. But these are the kinds of routes that he thrives on right here. Pure possession tight end in every sense of the word. Stephon Diggs would follow that up with a nice catch of his own. And then eventually is Eccles would get penalized for defensive pass interference yet again. They would be inside the Steelers' 5-yard line where Hunter Henry, on a pretty good play fake, would break open in the flat because they had tight ends and big bodies stacked all the way over to the left side of the field. They managed to get Hunter Henry just completely wide open, fooled them out, and he got right out in the flat for a touchdown catch to bring this to a 14-7 ball game. All of a sudden, with the Patriots forcing the 3-and-out, it looked good for the Patriots. And this was a hell of a drive, but it ended so badly. Like, they were backed up as deep as their own 4-yard line. But Rhamondre Stevenson would get close to a first down off of a catch out of the backfield and then break through for a 10-yard run to give them, first here. It nearly got tragic immediately for the Pats, but the interception that was initially called was ruled incomplete because Chuck Clark can't fucking catch shit. They would get themselves into another third down, and Rhamondre Stevenson, yet again out of the backfield, would bail them out. And it felt like every time they faced some kind of deterrent, they would storm back. I mean, a T.J. Watt sack, because you're not going to hold him down forever, even though over his last 6 games, he hadn't produced that many in total. Still made it happen, puts them behind the sticks, and yet Kayshon Boutte breaks open for a 20-yard catch anyways. Right? Like, it's just crazy like that. You would also have Demario Douglas get a rep, and then they would start to implement Travion Henderson, if that's saying much at all, before Stephon Diggs would get a first down conversion for them. Then they get down after this Hunter Henry catch from 18 yards out, because that's natural for him. Just finding an easy zone to exploit and just completely performing to that extent. And I'm like, you're inside their 5-yard line. Now you get an encroachment penalty from Benton. All of a sudden, you have a chance to tie up the ball game and prevent the Steelers from getting the ball back at all in this first half. All you had to do was run the ball. You had all 3 of your timeouts. You have no reason to put the ball in harm's way and waste your time trying to complete passes that the Steelers' defense is not going to give up in the red zone. Just run the ball. They go 1 pass. Okay, cool. Fine. Ended up being incomplete. You don't want to lose yardage either, right? Second down comes up. And this is a goal-to-go situation on the 2-yard line. Mind you. Another pass thrown incomplete. I'm like, okay, now you put yourself in a situation where you're facing third down, and I don't know if you'd want to go for it on 4th down either. But you could have very well, again, at this point, just run, get a yard, run, get another yard. In theory, you'd have a touchdown at this point. Now you're making your chances incredibly slim on 3rd and 4th down to make it happen. And yet still, they proceed to pass with no fake whatsoever also. If there was one that I missed or something like that, it was very subtle. And regardless, the defense was very much expecting them to go for that. Because in that same play, as Drake May drops back, he throws it, Cameron Hayward deflects it, and it falls into the hands of none other than Brandon Echols for a brutal interception. And in the moment, I'm like, I don't understand this. I just could not fucking, for the life of me, believe that they did that shit, bro. I couldn't. Because my thinking is like, yes, the fumbling thing was an issue. But at the same point, at this particular time in the game, you only had the one from Rhamondre Stevenson. That was it. Only one from Rhamondre. It did not get blown out of proportion yet. At all. And you still don't trust him enough to get back-to-back at least 1 yard gains, if not the requisite 2 yards, to get the touchdown that way and apply pressure like that. A potential swing of that nature just completely ruined because you wanted at that point to throw the ball? Like, no. Doesn't make any sense. But it would take only a little bit of time for Mike Vrabel to be proven right somewhat. Because new addition Robert Spillane at the linebacker position would get a pretty good work on Aaron Rodgers. Damn good play by him. But yet again, you had DK Metcalf. Hawk him down. And little did he know that that would be a touchdown-saving play in that moment. The second that they decide to run after Hunter Henry obviously gets them down close to the end zone. Another goal-to-go situation, essentially. Tell me why Rhamondre Stevenson gets just mere inches away from crossing the line, and he fumbles again. This time, Cameron Hayward forces it. Peyton Wilson recovers it. So just like that, we were talking about a 14-point swing. And the Patriots potentially having the lead in this game. And you fuck up like that with turnovers on back-to-back possessions. With you being just 2 yards out from getting a touchdown. Now, what kind of sense does that make? Oh, but it will get even worse for the Patriots in due time. Not for their defense. Like, you gotta give them credit. Even with all of this shit, they held as strong as they could. They truly did. But how do you overcome 3 straight drives ending in turnovers, man? Because at that point, it's like, okay, we might have to stop trusting Rhamondre Stevenson. Let's put in Antonio Gibson, see if we can get something out of him. He fumbles on his second run of this drive. With T.J. Watt punching it out. Again, pretty good play. But at the same time, what the hell are you doing? That just can't happen. And Jabril Peppers would recover it. But luckily, they get bailed out again. Because the Steelers went 3 and out again. Now the Patriots would finally be inspired to do something. And they got so desperate that I guess they finally wanted to include TreVeyon Henderson more in the offense for the sole fact that he could actually protect the fucking ball compared to the other running backs on the squad. And that would be highly valued in a situation like this. Now again, this is a long drive. 15 plays, 88 yards, and damn near 9 minutes. A lot of the gains were relatively short. And you even had some criminality going down as the Ohio State men in TreVeyon Henderson and Jack Sawyer would collide. But Henderson would get the first down, Anyways, Kyle Williams would also see himself get a few opportunities on this drive, but it was Mac Hollins who would pick up their next first down for him. It nearly got tough for the Patriots as they faced fourth down, but Travion Henderson would get the first down anyways, and they would tack on an extra 5 yards with Nick Herbig getting a penalty of his own. Hunter Henry, yet again, the Steelers were leaving a lot of the zones open, so it was natural for them to constantly exploit that kind of play to Hunter Henry to pick up yardage. And they would do that yet again. No change there. They faced another fourth down and 2. And on this one, Hunter Henry just got wide open, and had some room to run as well for a 16-yard touchdown to tie up the ball game with Borregales banging in the extra point. The Steelers nearly got themselves in a similar situation because the Patriots were like, you know what, we're going to force a turnover of our own. So Harold Landry III would break in and force a fumble on his former Titans teammate in Johnny Smith, but it went out of bounds. Nevertheless, it just killed a little bit of their momentum here. And even though they would pick up a first down via penalty, it wasn't enough. And the Patriots all of a sudden, despite having fucking 4 turnovers to this point, okay? Just think about how insane that is. 4 damn turnovers. They would manage to still have a shot to win this game. Nope. Hunter Henry thing got a little predictable, so they would start implementing Austin Hooper a little more. I guess he would break open for back-to-back 12 and 16-yard gains. 16-yard game was a little interesting, though. The man was literally trying to fall to the ground. That's how you know you are a pure possession wide receiver. He catches the ball, and he is trying his best to fall down to the ground and give himself up. But I guess the Steelers players kind of keep him up so he gets a few extra yards anyways. That was very fucking strange to me, man. It's like, come on, man. Just run, all right? Like, there's no reason you have to be doing that, bro. We come down to Drake May's legs again on fourth down, and he would just get right outside for an easy first down conversion. Just smooth, clean running. But Nick Herbig would muck up that jersey instantly, crushed him in the backfield. Drake May would fumble on the sack, and T.J. Watt would manage to recover it, being involved in some way. Well, yet another fumble. And then the Steelers recognized that, okay, it's clutch time. We can cap this off and stop playing around, I guess. So Jalen Warren would get them right with a few reps of his own. And although Troy Fultanu would manage to get them behind schedule a little bit, Kenneth Gainwell would get them back into a third and manageable, and Calvin Austin III on a great route, mind you, as Marcus Jones is just trailing him the whole time. Streaks open to where Aaron Rodgers puts it only where Austin can get it, on a back shoulder fade type of play. Marcus Jones, even though he has the recovery speed, he cannot get his hands up in time. Ball shifts right over. Calvin Austin III adjusts his body, and he gets in for a 17-yard touchdown to give them the lead. Like, you can't get much better ball placement than that anywhere else. You can't. You can try, but it ain't going to happen. The Patriots would have yet another chance, but, early interesting stuff would go down. I mean, they would get the yardage. Drake May would yet again get a crucial conversion, this time on second down, with a 15-yard scamper. Like, the recipe to try to pull this one out was there. But at every turn, something went left. Whether it was the turnovers or whether it was just a poorly timed play. T.J. Watt would certainly make his mark, getting Drake May in the backfield yet again. And although Hunter Henry would get them close to a first down, with a 12-yard gain. It came down to a 4th and short, and for whatever reason, they decided to have Demario Douglas run this route right at the line to gain rather than over the line to gain or past it. He, for whatever reason, decided to try to juke back, adjust back, and try to pick up yardage that way. And it's like, no, you're just losing yards at that point. And that's exactly what would happen. So this game would end anticlimactically with the Steelers winning 21-14. But again, seriously, I don't get that. Like, you do have to credit Patrick Queen on this play, though. Because Brandon Echols was there, but Patrick Queen was the guy who more so forced him inside rather than attempting to go for the first down. So that just says a lot about his effort on that play, I guess. Ain't that some shit? But yeah, it was very, very weird ball game. Like, you force 5 turnovers as a unit, and you still have this game come down to the wire like that. So I don't know if the Steelers should be exceptionally happy about winning this game, but you will take a win. You know, they improved to 2-1. I guess that's all that matters. I guess. Aaron Rodgers in this game, just 139 passing yards, weirdly enough, 2 touchdowns and an interception. That's also great defense by the Patriots, yet again. And they still cannot run the ball. Just 64 rushing yards as a team with a touchdown by Gainwell, as I mentioned. Like, that's not an impressive offensive game, to say the least. Their leading wide receiver was Jaylen Warren out of the backfield, ironically enough, and Calvin Austin III also had 34 yards, while DK Metcalf had 32 receiving yards and 3 catches with a touchdown of his own. But those are not eye-popping numbers at any level by any sense of the imagination. As long as the Patriots did a better job of protecting the ball, there's a great chance that they would have come out on top here. But they were so poor at it in a game that literally came down to 1 score. That made all the difference. Now, Drake May, again, that interception was just horrible. And again, a reflection of poor play calling. Wasted opportunities like that. Not just with the turnovers, but the fact that 2 of them, back to back, came in the red zone. Also, did not do the Patriots any help whatsoever. Still, he had 268 passing yards and 2 touchdowns on 75.7% completion, and was also their leading rusher out of the backfield, which is, again, you want to see him take those opportunities to scramble when he can, but I don't think that you should be in a spot where he's the leading rusher. Again, the fact that both Gibson and Stevenson did what they did in this game in terms of turning the ball over, I'm like, okay, you have to give Henderson more opportunities. Like, it's time. It's time, man. They've been pump faking it, but you've got to make it happen now. There is no reason why I should see him getting a huge share of the touches from this point moving forward. I'm not saying demote him completely because, again, if you do that, then that's probably going to hinder his confidence. But, man, like, something's got to give. That is a problem that just cannot continue. As for their receipt, the only truly notable one was Hunter Henry out of the backfield. I mean, 8 receptions for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns for him. Like, damn, have a game. How about the all-around stuff from both T.J. Watt and Robert Spillane in this game? 2 sacks and a forced fumble, and also a few tackles for T.J. Watt in this game. Brandon Echols managed to have a pass deflection and a pick, while Spillane had 15 tackles, including a tackle for loss, an interception, and a pass deflection. Elite play from both defenses. But with the Steelers being more opportunistic, and I guess clutch, you could argue, with them getting multiple stops inside the red zone like that, they gave their team the advantage and would reign victorious in this game. Moving on to the Commanders and the Raiders. This is also one that, I don't know. Like, this one just got very interesting. And to think that the Commanders were able to do this all without Jaden Daniels, really. He was out for this game. It was just all them from the opening tip. Truly. I mean, you have Marcus Mariota getting out here and getting a rushing touchdown almost immediately. And while the Raiders would get a field goal immediately to respond, because they got a good deep pass to Jacoby Myers for 45 yards, for a while, that would stand as their best play as a team. They could not do anything in the red zone for a while. And again, that carried over from last week. They've been struggling to do that against the Chargers for most of that game. So I guess there's not a lot of difference here. But granted, you're up against a weaker defense and you can't exploit those mismatches properly. That's kind of tough. They would get a little fortunate as Marcus Mariota would actually fumble weirdly enough. And it was kind of a crazy one too. Like, he did everything he needed to do. You know, they had a pretty interesting way of setting up QB runs for him. And he got out in space, but he decided to hurdle for whatever reason. And QB Kelly just was having absolutely none of that. Rocked him in the air. And it just kind of moved all over the place before, Kelly would fall on it and recover it. And yet still, they would go 3 and out. The Commanders would have another promising drive, but yet again, they would miss a field goal somehow. Yet the Raiders still went 3 and out. It was only a matter of time before somebody was going to strike. And eventually, Commanders would do that with a field goal of their own, as Zach Ertz would pick up a first down here. Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt would get multiple runs. And you would also have Zach Ertz kind of cap off the drive, getting them closer into the goal range. Because let's face it, again, anything inside 50 yards is going to be good for Matt Gay. Anything beyond that, you probably want to caution against something like that, honestly. Now, the Raiders would have a promising drive here. And it would start off what would be a career game for Tre Tucker. Because not only did he have an 18-yard catch to pick up a first down, a pretty good route and throw from Geno Smith on that play, he also had him pick up a 2nd and long with Bobby Wagner converting the tackle there. And then after a couple solid Genty runs, you had Tre Tucker get in for a 10-yard touchdown catch to tie up the ball game at that point. Another elite throw from Geno Smith over to that area of the end zone. And just like that, you had a little bit of a game here. Wouldn't be long, though, for the Commanders to respond. It just took 2 plays, and they had Jeremy McNichols break free for a 60-yard run. It looked even worse because as I'm watching it on the replay, he breaks tackles from not only Jeremy Chin, but also Landon Roberts. And I'm like, hold on. You let him shake off your tackle attempts? Him, of all people, in that running back room. Like, okay. That's a little interesting. The Raiders they would manage to punt yet again. In that context, once more, you are not trying to give this Commanders team the ball back to get any sense of momentum before the next half. Yet they would allow just that, as the Commanders would get a field goal to go up 20-10 at the end of the half. The third quarter started out relatively slow for both squads, as we just got 3 straight 3 and outs. But would turn up for the Commanders almost immediately. Because this man, Jalen Lane, the rookie, as a punt returner, is absolutely dynamic. I mean, he got a couple of great returns against the Packers last week, and he would convert this one all the way from his own 10-yard line into a 90-yard punt return touchdown to give them a 27-10 lead. Absolutely impressive stuff from him. Then Gino would manage to pick up a third down conversion with a good throw out of the scramble drill to rookie Jack Besh. But they still couldn't do much of anything. Outside of a couple runs, as I said, Genty was held in check by this front seven. He was not getting past the likes of Dorrance Armstrong or Duron Payne. It wasn't going down. Couldn't make anything happen there. And that's also just a testament to how poor the run blocking was for the Raiders. That's a whole nother story, though. Geno Smith would also get sacked by Bobby Wagner, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like Bobby Wagner just needs to come back to the Seahawks, bro. It is just unsightly to see him in that uniform. Like, there's no way that this is real, bro. Oh my gosh. Either way, that got the Raiders far behind schedule, and they would punt yet again before the Commanders would get yet another touchdown in. Now, this shit was just fucked up because Terry McLaurin never touched the ground on this play. Broke wide open for an immaculate gain of 56 yards, and yet was still marked short at the 1-yard line. It seemed like that would have hurt the Commanders right there because over the next few plays, they could not get in. They were actually the victim of a goal line stand for a second. But Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt would get in on third down to give them a 34-10 lead. By that point, there wasn't much to say about it. Although you had Von Miller try to crash in for a few plays here, the Raiders would get a couple of opportunities going, though it was too little too late. But again, it made the day even better for Tre Tucker as he would get in for touchdowns of 10 and also 61 yards out to complete his action. Yet, even if it might have felt as though the Raiders had a shot to make this interesting, at the same point, they had no timeouts left. The Commanders had been running all over them all game. Completely balanced, too. I'll get into that. There was just no way that they were going to get this ball back with enough time to establish a couple of solid drives. And to add even more insult to injury, it would be Luke McCaffrey who would score a 43-yard touchdown on a decent throw by Marcus Mariota to bring us to the final score of 41-24. Now, in this game, for the Commanders, 207 passing yards and a touchdown for Marcus Mariota, along with 71.4% completion, along with a rushing touchdown and 40 yards of the backfield. Nothing too crazy from Marcus Mariota, but definitely nothing from him outside of the untimely fumble to lose you this game at all. It's all you're asking for when a player like Marcus Mariota steps in to take over starting duties for the time being. As for their rushing attack, as a team, they had a combined 201 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. That is the Commanders' offense in a nutshell. When they were doing that kind of balanced attack last season, they were effective. And that didn't change here. Terry McLaurin would have 3 catches for 74 yards. And he would also, I think, right after that 56-yard gain of his, he would go down with a quad injury. He's getting second opinions on it. It could be the case that he would be out for the next game. I think they have him listed as questionable at this point. So we'll monitor that situation and see how that goes. Luke McCaffrey would also have 3 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown, and Zach Ertz would have 3 receptions for 38 yards and a touchdown. Bobby Wagner still fucking got it, by the way. 2 sacks for him and 11 tackles. Absolute fucking monster, bro. As for the Raiders, Geno Smith, their numbers can't really fool you. A lot of it is garbage time, but 289 yards, 3 touchdown passes, and 65.5% completion for him. Just 93 yards as a team rushing for the Raiders. And Genty's still just struggling to establish something. I don't know, man. It's not looking the best. There's always a chance to improve. But I don't know. Between the line and, again, his obvious showing as a true rookie, it's like, I don't know how long it would be before he can turn it around. Again, by far the player of the game for the Raiders here was Tre Tucker. Career high 8 catches, 145 yards, and the hat trick with 3 touchdowns on 9 targets. By far. Absolute masterclass from him. I don't know how consistent that will be, but he'll certainly never forget that game. And, that's definitely credit to his contributions in that one. Okay. Moving on to Texans Jaguars a little bit, because this ended up being bonus coverage action. Oh boy. It's not looking the best for the Texans. Now, granted, I was tracking it a little bit as I was watching the other games unfold, and they would manage in just one play with Nico Collins getting a 50-yard touchdown to tie up this ball game 10-10 earlier in the fourth quarter. But by the time they jumped back into it, this ended up being pretty late. Travis Etienne Jr., he's back for real, y'all. He's back. I suppose them moving on from Tank Bigsby might have been the right decision. Like, he is fucking back, bro. We get multiple solid gains on this drive here. And it was also Brian Thomas Jr. getting a 46-yard catch to get them inside Houston's red zone within an instant. However, it might not have been the wisest thing for Travis Etienne Jr. in the moment to get this rushing touchdown from 10 yards out. I mean, the Texans, quite literally on Monday, lost to the Bucs in a similar fashion by scoring early, by not getting the requisite amount of points they would need on the drive to make things interesting, and ultimately falling to them in that game. They would have the chance to do a similar thing to the Jags here if things went a certain way. Luckily for them, their defense completely locked down C.J. Stroud when it mattered the most. I mean, you did have Christian Kirk get involved to pick up a first down on 4th down here, which ended up being really clutch. You also had C.J. Stroud pick up a nice 12-yard run of his own to get deeper and deeper into Jags territory. Yet, he would try to take a few risks here. For one, like, Christian Kirk would be missed yet again because on an earlier play in the drive, you had him try it, and he had the leverage, but Jordan Lewis, obviously, the guy that the Jaguars acquired in the offseason and made for a time the highest paid slot corner in the NFL, he actually got the deflection there. Trying a similar thing again might not have been the wisest decision, and it didn't result in anything. Now, he would dump it down to Woody Marks for a 9-yard gain, and then they were faced with 3rd and 1. Now, in that situation, you have a timeout. You could probably go for a much shorter play, and yet C.J. Stroud was trying to launch it down the field. And while he might have had something, he may very well have had a wide open man. But Josh Hines-Allen did not let him get that full windup off. As he's trying to throw the ball, he gets his hand on it and it alters the trajectory of the pass, with it falling right into Johnson's hands, one of the Jags corners, for an interception to cap off that game and give the Jags a 17-10 lead. Like, that was immaculate pressure. That is great defense from Josh Hines-Allen. But again, if you're C.J. Stroud, one, you have to feel that. And two, again, you didn't need it all in one play. You just didn't. You didn't. You had something to fall back on at least. You did not need to force that play. And I guess that was kind of the theme of the game for him. 25 of 38 passing and 204 passing yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions is brutal. Absolutely brutal. And while Nico Collins had 104 receiving yards and a touchdown on 8 catches, virtually nobody else did anything, making it easy for the Jaguars to completely hone in on him when it mattered the most, like I said. As for the Jags, I mean, it's not like Trevor Lawrence did all that great himself. He threw 40 pass attempts and completed just 50% of them for 222 passing yards and an interception as well. And Travis Etienne had 56 rushing yards. And you also had Brenton Strange get 61 receiving yards on 6 catches, with Brian Thomas Jr. also logging 55 receiving yards on 2 catches. They got to try to involve Travis Hunter more, by the way. What the hell? Not seeing him get just a reception for 21 yards for. Like, come on, man. You can't treat him like that. You can't. Interestingly enough, you see C.J. Gardner-Johnson here. He would be released yesterday. And I'm like, damn, okay. There have got to be a number of teams calling up his phone because he's still that damn good of a safety. So where multiple teams would very much want to have him on their roster. Derek Stingley Jr. would also be listed as day-to-day after this game with an oblique injury that he might have suffered at some point. Yeah. Okay, and then for another bonus coverage game, because I'll obviously get into that game later when covering the rest of the action. But on Fox, they would put on Jets-Bucks instead. And you got to go through the whole progression of this one. It was looking bad for the Jets, especially after you had Tyrod Taylor throw a pick six to Jamel Dean, essentially the end of the half, to give them a 20-6 lead. And then it got as big as 23-6, with the Bucks getting a good drive to start out the third quarter. That is kind of a waste when you look at it, though. Even without watching the game, you see 16 plays and 76 yards with 9 minutes and 9 seconds off the clock. You're thinking, okay, you get a touchdown out of that, right? Little did they know that one misstep, however inconsequential it might have been at the time, would come back to bite them. Slowly but surely, the Jets kept creeping their way back into this game. I mean, this one drive right here saw pass after pass after pass up until Garrett Wilson would get himself a touchdown from 11 yards out to make this a 23-13 ball game. Bucks would be forced to settle for yet another field goal, and then, once more, the Jets would drive down the field with as much effort as possible, in just 2 minutes and 33 seconds nonetheless, while managing to once more get conversions with Tyler Johnson here, and then also Tyrod Taylor using his legs before Allen Lazard on 4th down following again, improv attempt by Tyrod Taylor would get in a hell of a fucking catch. with the defense completely shadowing them. Muscles in one anyways. And all of a sudden, we've got a ball game at this point. So they come in at the right time as the Bucs are driving a little bit. Baker Mayfield managed to get a 33-yard gain running the ball on this drive as well. They get right in at the 2-minute mark. Now, at this point, they obviously accounted for the 2-minute warning. And, they're just getting themselves set for the next play. Man, it would be a dynamic one for none other than the rising star in McDonald IV. In an ode only to Cam Chancellor, he completely jumps over the center. No chance to call illegal leverage there. Cleared him. Jumps up in the fucking air as McLaughlin is trying to go for the kick, and he blocks it himself. The ball's scattering behind those guys, and McDonald IV has enough speed to go out and recover his own blocked kick, runs all the way into the opposing end zone. And all of a sudden, after battling back like this, the Jets have a 27-26 lead thanks to his contributions. But there was still game time to be carried out. It wasn't over. Even though Aaron Glenn was out here completely feeling it and getting into a little bit of his own groove, surely that would change in just a few quick plays. Because Emeka Egbuka in the clutch is fucking him. Ohio State man, yet again, hauls in a great catch with another great pass from Baker Mayfield over to him from 28 yards out. Then, this one, which ended up going down as an incomplete pass, was a fucking completion. It got bobbled around a little bit, but Emeka Egbuka, by the time he gets out of bounds, got both feet in and had control of the football. They didn't give it to him, but they would get a good screen route to Sterling Shepard, get him out in space, and they pick up 20 yards from there, getting them right in field goal range. All they needed to do at this point was just take down more time. And with that, 3 seconds left, a chance for McLaughlin to redeem himself. He would do it, giving the Bucs a 29-27 lead, even with one of the many blocked field goals and PATs that took place on just Sunday alone going down. Ended up not mattering at the end of the day. The Bucs have literally just opened this season being the cardiac kids. It's crazy. Like, for Baker Mayfield and this squad to go 3 straight games and go undefeated while having to come back in every single one from something is just fucking wild. And it's unprecedented, I believe. It's absolutely absurd. Truly. But they're getting the job done. Meanwhile, the Jets in this case, entering this situation, they were 144-1 in games in which they had trailed by more than 17 points while entering the fourth quarter. Make that 145-1. It's absolutely crazy stuff. Obviously, it's cross-franchise history, but yeah. That is some damn revealing stuff, to say the least. In this game, Baker Mayfield would have 233 passing yards on 65.5% completion and a touchdown pass. Bucky Irving would have 99 total yards on 29 total touches. 25 runs for 66 yards is definitely disproportionate, though, to say the least. Emeka Egbuka would have 6 receptions for 85 yards. Sterling Shepard would have 4 receptions for 80 yards, and Mike Evans would also have 4 receptions for 33 yards and a touchdown earlier in the game. Although, weirdly enough, I think before they cut all this action on, They mentioned that Mike Evans had been out of the game, suffered a hamstring injury, and he's going to miss the next 3 to 4 weeks. It's highly unfortunate for him right now. Obviously, he is still trying to catch and break the tie with Jerry Rice in terms of consecutive seasons with over 1,000-yard campaigns to open a career. And again, obviously, the main thing on his mind is to get healthy, get right, and recover as quickly as possible. But again, with that, he's going to have to do something similar to what he did last year. Obviously, he missed some time last year, and he had to have some of the games of his life down the stretch just to get to that mark. Might be in a similar spot again, and I don't know how possible it would be in this situation. You know, we don't even have Chris Godwin Jr. back in the lineup. Jalen McMillan is obviously going to come back from his injury at some point, so they've got a lot of stuff to figure out there. And it could get very interesting for him, but I guess we will find out in time. As for the Jets, Tyrod Taylor had 197 passing yards on 72.7%, 72.2% completion, 2 touchdowns and an interception with 48 rushing yards. The backs, though, just 15 combined rushes for 51 yards. Now, yes, again, the Bucs front seven is just, especially with Vita Vea up front, it's tough to run against them. But I don't know about that. Garrett Wilson, on the other hand, would have 10 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown. All right. Moving on to the Cowboys and the Bears. How about them damn Cowboys, bro? Oh, my goodness. I mean, do they not recognize that this Bears team, all right, quite literally got their asses handed to them in the game beforehand? Man, that is just so rough, bro. Now, the one thing I will say for the Bears is this, man. You have got to stop letting DeAndre Swift run the football. The fact that the rookie and Stewart could get behind the line of scrimmage and completely gobble up DeAndre Swift right there on the spot is absolutely insane. I don't know what it is about him, but it just never works. So you've got to make a change there. And it would look promising for the Cowboys on their first drive. It would. I mean, you had Javonte Williams pick up 29 yards by himself on just the first 2 plays. But Tyrique Stevenson had something to say in this game. And, you know, before getting into anything else, you got to give a massive amount of credit to him. Like, I literally saw this man play one of the most disciplined games he's ever played in the NFL. From the fact that he forces this fumble by literally ripping it out of the hands of Javonte Williams on this drive to derail any shot of momentum they might have been trying to implement by getting the scoring started in this game. It was also just flying everywhere, making a load of pass deflections, getting in tackling lanes at the right points, making good form tackles as well, and just having really sound decision making on that front with the assignments that he was tasked with carrying out. It's truly great to see him have that kind of performance. And with the fact that there's no timetable for Jalen Johnson's return at this point, they're going to need one of their cornerbacks to step up. Kyler Gordon's also out too with a hamstring injury at this time. So it's going to have to be Stevenson, and he answered the fucking call in this game. The Bears offense as well just kind of picked it up. I don't know. I mean, you had Colston Loveland get out there and get a reception of his own. And you would also have Rhamondre in just a few short plays cook Trayvon Diggs for a 35-yard touchdown catch. It was bad because, again, Diggs would also have a weird situation later on in the game where he would just be, on the sideline tending to something maybe. He had already been working back from an injury just to play. So I get that, but nothing excuses him getting completely bullied on the press attempt. Like Rhamondre just swats him right off, and he falls down to the ground as Dunze is just streaking wide open for this catch. That's fucking embarrassing. It really is. And that was kind of the theme for the Cowboys defense all game long. At least when it came to going vertical in the air attack, they were getting embarrassed all game. The Cowboys were a bit more methodical with their passing method. The Bears, I guess, weren't intent on giving up too many deep plays. The game plan would also change a little bit because CeeDee Lamb at this point would be given a run, and he was tackled in such a weird way that he was just limping the whole time, and he would be taken out of the game. Afterwards, it would be detailed that he had like a high ankle sprain, and he's going to miss at least the next 2 to 4 weeks. So obviously, when your top wide receiver, your $136 million man, goes out of the game like that, you're going to want to change up what you're doing a little bit. And, it still ended up getting them on the board with a field goal. But the brutality on the defensive front would continue because this man, Caleb Williams, just, oh my goodness. Like this play right here was absolutely insane. He just gets the flea flicker from Swift, who throws it high as hell. He catches it far above his head. Okay. Settles in and fires a rocket down the field to Luther Burden III for a 65-yard touchdown pass. It was his longest completion in the NFL so far. And for this season, it was the longest amount of air yards on a throw. Like, that shit is insane, bro. That is quite literally, in my estimation, that's exactly like fielding a fucking baseball and then having to fire that shit all the way over to fucking third base or something. Like, literally, think about the fucking Ronald Acuna Jr. play to tie in baseball here. Going out, high-pointing a ball like that and having to throw that with such zip and velocity all the way over to the other side of the field like that. And you do this shit. It works to perfection. Like Acuna got that out. Burden III scored that touchdown, his first in the NFL, and they go up 14-3. Now, the Cowboys would, again, methodically respond. They had to get George Pickens involved a little more, and Jalen Tolbert also involved a little more. Tolbert ran a good route on this possession, though. I'm not going to lie. Like, it was pretty solid. Your typical out route, but it was ran so damn well that former Cowboy Nahshon Wright actually dropped to the ground. And again, he had enough space to get himself a few extra yards there. Still, when it got to them getting into the red zone, Tyrique Stevenson, yet again, gets in for a swat here, and it forces them into fourth down where they have to kick a field goal. The Cowboys defense would tighten up just a little bit, and force 3 and out before the Cowboys would respond. With George Pickens getting a nice 21-yard gain, and then also on a pretty simple route, because the fake was actually pretty interesting. Like, it got to the point where Ferguson was actually in the way of Prescott for some reason, but Pickens had the leverage on Wright yet again, and he would score. They would also pick up the 2-point conversion to tie up the game. It wouldn't take that much time for the Bears to create a little bit of distance, though, especially with DeAndre Swift breaking out of the backfield and getting a 41-yard catch in. Cairo Santos would be in field goal range at that point, and he would kick a field goal, while the Cowboys would once more go 3-and-out as Montez Sweat was applying so much damn pressure on Dak Prescott. And then, yet another killer for this Cowboys defense would be them allowing DJ Moore to run the ball. And Kyle Monangai also got a few reps on this possession before Rhamondre and Luther Burden III would get back-to-back first down catches. Then, with a need at that point to stop the Bears in the red zone, they allow Cole Kmet to streak wide open on a seam route in the end zone for a touchdown. And I just don't know what was going on there. Absolutely nobody was there checking for him at all. No one. Not a single defender. And there's got to be some safety, some cornerback guarding that area of the field. Why was he left that wide open? I don't know. Caleb Williams made him pay for it. They go up 24-14 to cap off the half. And they would drive just a little bit, but, wasting 4 minutes, damn near 5 minutes like that, and only picking up 18 yards, that is tremendous defensive play from the Bears and just a poor output from that offense. And this is where the real killer for the Cowboys would come in. If you thought that drive beforehand was won. A 19-play, 76-yard drive that took damn near 10 minutes off the clock and essentially brought the Cowboys damn near into the fourth quarter by the time their offense got the ball back. Absolutely embarrassing stuff. Absolutely embarrassing. I mean, for one, it started out weirdly enough because DeAndre Swift actually managed to get a 10-plus yard rushing gain. Yeah. They would be faced with a few tough situations, though. They had 3rd and long, but DJ Moore would pick it up with around 9 minutes to go. Bleed some more time off, get DJ Moore another rep, bleed more time off, get DeAndre Swift a 2-yard run to pick up a 3rd down. Bleed more time off, Caleb Williams got a good read option play to get outside. He slid down, gave himself up. That burns even more time. Just short gain after short gain, strategically and efficiently working your way down the field. If you're picking up pretty much 4 yards of play, right? All you need is 3 downs to do that and get yourself another first. Over and over and over and over again. And it just kept going on and on and on and on. DeAndre Swift would pick up another 3rd down on this drive. And then you had Kyle Monangai do something really weird. Now, granted, you can't necessarily knock the man for putting in as much effort as he did on this play. But at the same time, you're in a goal-to-go situation on the Cowboys' 7-yard line. After the second tackle attempt by the Cowboys defense, he probably should have went down, honestly. Instead, he would try to reverse field and got tackled for an 8-yard loss. It's that could truly hurt here. Although it nearly did, it would not. Because Luther Burden III on 3rd down, ironically enough, we get them back into a manageable spot. Because obviously on 4th down, with Ben Johnson coming from that tree, you know what he's going to do in this situation. He's going to go for it. And he called his shot. Play had to break down a little bit, but Caleb Williams eventually found DJ Moore sitting, waiting for the football in the back of the end zone with a hell of a throw for a touchdown to bring this game to a 31-14 lead. And that would essentially be the score of the game Though, again, not without just a lot of rough shit going down. Obviously, the Bears would stall out in the fourth quarter. But how about the Cowboys on all three possessions? Again, the first interception drive here was tough. Turpin managed to pick up a nice gain to start it out, but Pickens, by literally dropping the ball right into the hands of Tremaine Edmonds, did Dak Prescott no favors. So I can't put that on him there. But it feels like if you convert on all three of these drives, well, you've got a pretty good chance at having this be a tie ball game or a ball game in which you win. And yet you throw an interception here on a drive that takes you 91 yards down the field and on which you probably needed to score if you want to make things interesting here. You get intercepted by Tremaine Edmonds again. And then at that point, Dak Prescott gets benched because there's not really enough time for them to make much happen on offense after that. Yet they drive back down, and Joe Milton III this time throws yet another interception Kevin Byard III's way to essentially end off the game. It was rough. It was very, very rough for them. I just can't explain something like that happening, honestly. But a great, great win for the Bears. Truly, I did not see that coming at all. Who would have thought? But at the same time, like I was saying, if Russell Wilson at this point, and we'll get to Russell Wilson in time, if he could manage to have the game that he did last week against this Cowboys defense, as bad as they are, you can imagine that the Bears, would be able to do the same thing. Still, even with that, Caleb Williams, we talked about Tyrique Stevenson already. Caleb Williams had the finest outing in his NFL career to this point. 298 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 67.9% completion. And it's not even just about all those crazy uncorkers down the fucking field. It's not even just about those, man. He made truly sound reads that haven't really been there for him since he's started out in the NFL. And again, flashes of that came in the Vikings game, but it wasn't really that consistent. They did not face that problem in this game whatsoever. It was on from the opening tip, like I said. And he kept it consistent, kept it clean, and as a result, they won in very convincing fashion. Again, rushing attack is just going to have to, again, DeAndre Swift just can't be your lead man, bro. I'm sorry. They've got to figure out another way because it's just not the move. As for their receiving game, though, Luther Burden III would have 3 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. Roma Dunze would have 3 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown. And DeAndre Swift had 3 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown as well. As for the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, 77.5% completion is not half bad to say the least. Again, a lot of his throws, even in a game where Caleb Williams was showcasing that, a lot of his throws were pretty damn accurate as well. And again, given what he had to go through in losing CeeDee Lamb, he still put together a decent enough game. But obviously, the 2 interceptions to just 1 touchdown are going to look bad. They are. There's nothing that can really, excuse that whatsoever. But that is always the situation they'll be put in. For as bad as their defense is, they're going to need their offense to consistently be performing well. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen all the time. So they are in a weird spot as a franchise right now. As for the rushing, Miles Sanders would have 9 rushes for 41 yards, while Javonte Williams would have 10 rushes for 76 yards. As for the receptions, 13 catches and 82 yards for Jake Ferguson. Yeah, that's how we know. It is very rough without CeeDee Lamb in this situation. That is how we know. I mean, oh my goodness. George Pickens had 5 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. And Kevontae Turpin had 2 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. All-around game for Tremaine Edmonds as well. 15 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 2 pass deflections. Unit. Noah Sewell also added 11 tackles of his own. That's absolutely fucking wild, bro. Wow. Goodness gracious. Alright, to briefly address the Cardinals and 49ers game, because not that much happened. But the fact that one of these teams was going to come out of this game undefeated, again, just says a lot. And yet, that's how I had to go. Now, they cut into this bonus coverage as the 49ers had the ball back. And honestly, by the time that I saw this man, Christian McCaffrey, just literally get a 20-yard catch off a screen route, I knew that it was up. I mean, this is the moment that you signed Eddy Pineiro for. Again, he's not a guy that's going to blow you away with power kicking or anything like that. But he's one of the more accurate kickers in NFL history. By the numbers. And by the percentages. You will definitely be able to trust that in a situation like that. More so than you ever could with the kicker whose name shall not be mentioned when talking about San Francisco football. Anyways, we come down to his leg, and Eddy Pineiro would bang it through, giving the 49ers a 16-15 win. What is up with the Cardinals offense? Just to look at them, man. Like, Kyler Murray is a solid quarterback. But again, 159 passing yards, a touchdown, 62.9% completion on just 4.5 yards per passing attempt. What kind of play calls are y'all dialing up? Because it's not working enough, clearly. They wouldn't have 106 rushing yards as a team as well, but just 3.8 yards per carry. Also didn't help that they would lose James Conner for the rest of the NFL season, unfortunately, as he originally was diagnosed with like a knee injury or something, and then they just mentioned that his ankle needed surgery, so he's going to be out for the rest of the season with a foot injury. And it's like, damn, that is certainly tough, to say the least. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery and can recover fully, but it's like, oh my goodness. I don't really know in this system if that would still, like, it's just kind of tough to read right now. Marvin Harrison would lead their receivers with 3 catches for 44 yards, while Trey McBride would have 43 on 5 catches and a touchdown. Again, we're just getting into really weird territory right now. Like, there was a headline talking about okay, is it time to say that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a bust or something like that? I'm like, bro, hold the fuck on. What? Wait a minute. Like, what are you talking about? This is an entire offensive struggle. It's not just Marvin Harrison Jr. for one. And again, for two, I mean, again, a lot of people are guilty of it. But you try to write off all these different players, and then little do you know that in seasons to follow, in games to follow, things could change mightily. Like, why is that a conversation that we're already having? That's just weird to me. I don't like that. As for the 49ers, Mac Jones would have 284 yards passing with a touchdown and an interception on 65.9% completion. Christian McCaffrey, maybe not so hot in the rushing game from that standpoint. Cardinals, I will say, their front seven did a nice job of containing him there, but he did have 140 total yards on 27 total touches. Anyways, that is just Christian McCaffrey for you. As for Ricky Pearsall, 8 catches for 117 yards. He might actually be breaking out for them right now. He's certainly being treated as their lead guy. And again, if they can get him to develop into that, that could help immensely. Even when some of their other guys come back.